what is, the most athletic athlete? Flipping the script. Is it, fitted to athletic? And then going a step further and saying which professional sport out there, in my humble opinion, has the most athletic athletes. And I guess it's a kind of hot take, but I would go 100% with the NBA basketball player. And I'm going to make... Welcome to the ChadBurn Podcast, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ChadBurn Podcast, coming to you from the Great White North. I'm your host, ChadBurn, and running the show behind the scenes is the very talented Julien Renvoise. Hello, Julien. Today, we'll be taking you through our first show of many, one that looks at the sports world and the major topics of the day. Each show will consist of 3 sports topics that I've chosen to dissect and give my full opinion on because I need to get it out there. I wanted to start this podcast because the one thing in life that always makes sense to me is sports. Major sports like basketball, baseball, and football, so the ones that don't make sense, like competitive fight juggling and pizza acrobatics. Yes, those are all real sports, and everything and all that people classify as a sport will be on the table for a discussion. I want this to be like a group of your friends at the bar, and you have that one friend who just won't shut up about the game. Well, that's going to be me. And I'm taking my talents to the air. People who know me know that I like to find competition in everything I do. As long as there's a winner and a loser, I am on board. This is why sports have always made sense to me. It was something that formed me as a young man and has developed both my personal and professional career to the detriment, I am sure, of many others. It is my hope that through this show, I can share that passion with you and spark even a small part of you to go out there and take an interest in the many leagues, contests, and events that the world of sports has to offer. This is a conversation between friends, except your one friend dominates the conversation and you're enjoying just listening along. Now that brings us to our first topic of this show, which is something I wanted to kind of tackle since the CrossFit Games 2019 just ended last Sunday. And it's this idea of fittest athlete versus the athletic athlete. Because as you may or may not know, during the CrossFit Games, their champion at the end is crowned either the fittest man or the fittest woman on earth. This year, again, Matt Fraser won it 4 times in a row now. And Tia Claire Toomey, she won it 3 times in a row now. And it got me thinking because, what really are we talking about when we're saying the fittest person versus the most athletic athlete? Because if you think about the CrossFit Games themselves, it doesn't take any freakish talent. It doesn't take really any weird natural gifts to be good at it. It's going to the gym. It's working hard. As the events show, on Thursday, they did a 400-meter run. They climbed up a rope 3 times, and they were doing squat snatches. So it's this combination of really gymnastics, powerlifting, cardio, all stuff that if you just really work hard at and you go to the gym, you're going to be successful. And I don't see that on the same level as these other professional sports, where I think you need to have an innate freakish ability in order to succeed at it. Disclaimer, I'm a big participant in CrossFit. I go 4 times a week. I really love the sport. I think there is something to be said about it. I think that it is, very competitive. It's hard. It's a grind. It takes a special kind of insanity to want to do it. But when these kind of new leagues pop up and they start throwing these crazy fucking titles around, like the fittest athlete in the world, I think you need to kind of reevaluate. Because what this league has done is basically take the word fit and kind of redefine it. They're almost making it seem that, they're superior to a lot of other stuff because they cover this wide array of events. But I think if you took a linebacker from the NFL, top linebacker, and he spent maybe just a few months working at this, he would dominate a Matt Fraser. Because all he needs to learn is how to do a muscle up and do a handstand. He can learn that. But when it comes to just the athleticism, it's the powerlifting. It is just the ability to push yourself beyond your limits and the cardio. And that's something that any major athlete has. So a Matt Frazier, I don't think is more unique or on a higher level than a Bobby Wagner out on the Seattle Seahawks, because that motherfucker's huge and he can go in and do anything he wants there. So are we thinking of fitness in the same way of fit because, every athlete is fit, or are we now taking it and almost creating a new monster just in order to make people, almost put these people on a higher pedestal? So I found that kind of bizarre and a little interesting. And then it also made me start thinking about what is, the most athletic athlete, flipping the script. Is it, fitted to athletic? And then going a step further and saying which professional sport out there, in my humble opinion, has the most athletic athletes. And I guess it's a kind of hot take, but I would go 100% with the NBA basketball player. And I'm going to make a few arguments on this, and I'll even ask Julian what his opinion is on which is the most athletic sport. But I think basketball, because basketball is played on more than one plane, right? So in most cases, you have an athlete that has to, it's horizontal, we're on the ground, you sometimes have to jump. There are elements in the game that you have to do, but in basketball, it's everything. It's up, down, left, right. There's this ability for the distance and your eye-hand coordination to see how far the basket is to make that shot. And again, this is not a beat down any other sport. I think all sports have their different niches to it. But the basketball player, in a sense of pure athleticism and talent, I think does go past everyone else. They have to do so much more. There's so much more elements to the game in order to be good. So I think, I guess second sport, I don't know, Julian, in your opinion, would soccer be your...
Second most fit? Second fittest?
Or second most athletic? Most athletic player.
I don't know. I mean, basketball is definitely first. I think the only ones who can potentially compete with basketball players in terms of athleticism would be like a winger in rugby. Like some positions of rugby require endurance, speed. They kind of require all of that you need in basketball.
See, all right. So rugby's interesting, and this is where I had this internal debate with rugby and American football, because I think both of them are very similar in what they require their athlete to do, right? So rugby, I hear you on the athleticism. I think these are big guys that, are able to move in a way that they shouldn't do with the size of their body. That's a freakish thing. Right. But at the same time, I think it's very right? So you have a winger, you have the guys in the scrum, the big guys, and in football, you have the lineman, you have the wide receiver. It's very focused, right? You just have to learn a set of skills to fulfill that position.
Yes and no.
And yeah, I know. All right, so rugby, obviously, that to play a lot of stuff, but I still think it's about brute strength. There's an intelligence. Again, all these sports require a certain type of intelligence, and that is what sets these players apart from the normal person working out. But I think that it's still a sense of it's forward. It's a strategy of passing the ball, going through, and the skill set is definitely, I think, a little more limited in a way. Whereas basketball, you have to have the cardio endurance, you have to have the vertical, you have to be able to do that. Right. You have to have the quickness and the quick reactions to go around players and to see a guy cutting in a second because the court's smaller. Right. And I think also the ability to handle the ball, to be able to shoot the ball. There's a lot more elements to it. In rugby, you have to pass, you have to be able to tackle, and you have to know the game, the intelligent part. In soccer, it's a lot of the passing, the header, the shot, that. So I think there's just more elements in basketball that a player has to do in order to be deemed as the best. And that's the same as football. You take a wide receiver, right? They only have to be able to run a route and catch. They don't do even fucking thing. I mean, you can sometimes make them block, but in reality, how much are they actually going to be doing of the blocking? So that's why I see basketball definitely sets itself apart. And I think you get in this part of athleticism versus fitness again, because, if you took me, if you put me in a gym and worked me really hard, I could get good at CrossFit. That's it, or again above at a certain point. But if you wanted to take me and you train me for years, to play football as a wide receiver, sure, you took 10 years maybe,
right,
and like had me running routes and catching the ball and doing all that shit. Like I might make third string or a bench squad, but you're not going to be the top athlete in them. And that's kind of the whole picture, is that you're always got to do a lot more to get in those sports. And I think in this CrossFit, and you know, credit to them, CrossFit's made a hell of a franchise out of this. I mean, you have all the gyms everywhere. You have the you know, all these leagues. You have the games now that people actually attend. You know, people, what was it, Pat Vellner, who went to McGill. We had him in our class. You know, I saw him at McGill. He was a gymnast, and now he's like becoming a chiropractor, and he's considered the second fittest man on the planet. Oh. And, you know, he's getting interviewed by CNN. He's getting interviewed by CTV. Like, all these people are taking an interest in him, and it's still literally just a guy at the gym. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, if you want to be good at squats, what do you have to do? You go in the gym and you do squats, and you do that constantly. And I just don't think there's anything inherent to their physical freakness. Like, sure, if you're shorter, stockier, less distance to the ground, have an advantage, right? But like these basketball players, soccer players, you know, American football players, I mean, there's an inherent freakness to them that is like, that sets them apart from everyone else. Like they're actual freaks. I mean, Neymar, it's just like his ability to go across. And I'm trying to step into soccer, and I'm going to totally look like a moron because I don't know what I'm talking about because of soccer. But like, you know, there's people that move that you're like, that's insane. Was it Griezmann over in France?
Yeah, Griezmann.
Like, oh no, wait, not Mbappe. That's your guy.
Mbappe, yeah.
My God. I mean, there are players like that where you're watching, like, that's fucking insane. Like, he goes from like 0 to 60 miles an hour in like a second and just blasts past a professional defenseman, and he has no shot of catching him. Like that stuff, like that blows my fucking mind to see that. Like, that's really cool. All right, so then let's move on to the second topic of the show. This is something I found very interesting, mainly because obviously I'm American. It's an American-centric kind of idea. But the FIBA World Cup, so everyone knows FIBA is not a weird cousin of FIFA. It is actually the Federal Institute Basketball Association. It's the World Basketball League. And they have a World Cup every 4 years, like everything else. Not as well known, but they are coming up this summer, and America's been trying to get their team together. And, you know, apparently they sent out 50 invites, and they got 15 people to accept. And these are not your LeBron James, not Steph Curry, not Anthony Davis. It's none of the top stars, right? These are, and so I'm pulling up right now on Bleacher Report. We have people that showed up were Bam Adebayo, who had, you know, decent season. Harrison Barnes, we all remember from the Golden State Warriors. He's still killing it. I think he's averaging about 18, 20 points a game. He's really, you know, he's out there hustling. Jaylen Brown, obviously a talent. Kyle Kuzma, Brooke Lopez, Kyle Lowry, Chris Middleton, Donovan Mitchell, Mason Plumlee, and Marcus Smart. Also have Jason Tatum on that list, and Kemba Walker. These are, besides Kemba Walker, because he just signed a huge $100 million contract, these are people that are considered the B squad and, you know, JV of the NBA, right? These are guys that are happy to get a spot because, you know, if the all-stars of this league were playing, they wouldn't get a chance. But even with this scrub squad, and I say scrub because they're lesser on the length of NBA, these guys are definitely going to fuck shit up at the FIBA World Cup. I mean, there isn't a team, I think, that stands a shot to upset the American team. And most people were saying, and you know, I was watching on all ESPN and all these different talk shows who are saying, you know, there's a chance the U.S. might lose this time. And I look at this lineup and I say, how in the world could this team lose? I mean, you have maybe Spain, who still has the Gasol brothers. I think you have France that still has some talent, but Tony Parker's retired. So you got Gobert maybe lining up in there. You know, the only other real teams that seemed to threaten them were Slovenia, and they're not allowed in because of whatever their season rules. They didn't meet the requirements to make the FIBA World Cup. So, you know, East Central European players I see differently because I think they're at a different level almost just because they play a different style. They do fit the FIBA squad. It's not a lot of one-on-one. It's team basketball. They're passing around. Everyone's a tall white guy that can shoot anywhere on the court. But if you take those guys out, and some European teams, maybe Brazil, I mean, no one really stands up. No one has a squad like this. I mean, Marcus Smart would still be the star on any of these teams. And he's a bench player for the Celtics, and he's coming in and maybe going to come off the bench for Team USA. But I mean, I still think they're going to come out and just smack them. And that made me think about how the U.S. has such a stranglehold on basketball and, this world of basketball. In my mind, I can't really think. I mean, what would be in Europe and maybe soccer? Is there a country or team that could put out their B squad and still wipe the floor with the rest of the world?
Absolutely not. I mean, the closest we got something like that was like Spain when they were really dominating in 2008 to 2012. They were completely dominating world football. But even their B squad would not be able to wipe the floor the way the basketball can.
Yeah, so you couldn't hear him. I mean, he was using Spain as an example, and and their kind of World Cup dominance they had for a while, and just in general the Euro Cup and everything. That was 2008. You're saying to 2010? That was on. They got right after they won the World Cup. I mean that's team there. I think the only one I think of is New Zealand and rugby. I mean they could put out their B squad and probably. I mean, not dominate. They still a B squad New Zealand team would still struggle against a South Africa or a French squad, England too. I mean, it'd be tough. And that's what I mean. It's fascinating how, obviously it's an American sport. We created it, so there should be some ability for us to control the league and whatnot, and we have the talent pool. But I wish it was. I feel like there should be some other country that could take on our lesser squad and make it competitive. But no, I mean they're gonna go through and they're gonna destroy, and it's gonna be 20-point wins all around. I mean maybe China. It's in China, so maybe they rigged it somehow. I'd be fascinated to see if the Chinese team came out and all of a sudden it's oh shit, Yao Ming was cloned 5 times on this squad. They have 5 Yaos and they're just killing it. Yeah. So besides that, I don't really know. It's in China. Curious how it's gonna be run and see the turnout there. Chinese love basketball, so it should be a good crowd. So that's where we're gonna end on that one. The next one, kind of want to go into, and this is probably not gonna be as interesting to everyone else out there, but if you're listening, well, you're stuck with my opinion. So last night, Thursday night, was the first preseason games of the NFL season. I know, exciting all around. We all want to see the second and third string players play their hearts out and try and make it squad. But besides it looking like a college football game last night, my Eagles came in, had a decent time. They still lost, but as we all know, we don't care. First game of this preseason. And I gotta say, I am very excited. I think that the Eagles have a group of young talent that, while coming off the bench, some of them, we did get to see Dallas Goedert play, who is going to be the tight end number 2. We did get to see Sendejo, who came over from the Vikings to play safety. He was in there and looking like a dick as always. Love him for it because he's unapologetic in how he hits. He's always ball hawking. He's really around. He's going to be very physical. He's a Dawkins-ish player, and so I'm happy to see him. It was good to see him out there. Maddox was good over on the corner. I felt like Maddox was actually locking it down, and because the Titans did put out some of their starters, Mariota did a one drive with some of the starting wide receivers, and the secondary looked good. If you're an Eagles fan, that's a huge deal. The secondary has been shit. They've been doing, it's something that we've been clamoring for over the last 2 years, is to get someone besides just Malcolm Jenkins out there basically playing, safe, basically playing as a dam, a water break dam for every other corner that sucks. He's just covering deep so that if anyone gets by, he makes a big hit. So it's nice to see that there's going to be someone that can, one, relieve Dawkins with Sendejo. You can also run a 2 safety with having Sendejo and Malcolm out there. And finally, I think the cornerbacks are stepping up, and we should see. There's some young talent. Should be good. The downside was Nate Sudfeld, the backup quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He did get injured. He broke his wrist. But news just came in today. He had surgery right after the game, or this morning, I'd say Friday morning. And, he's only going to be out for about 6 weeks. So, positive there. But again, just the backup quarterback. But he had good darts. He was throwing it really well, like around the whole field. So I was really happy to see that. Dougie P going out there, calling out on 4th downs. He's getting the kicking team out there. Jake the Snake was looking good. He hit a 51-yarder and then hit the uprights on a 40. But, again, preseason, so I was just happy to see them come around. Looking around the league and the games that played, Dwayne Haskins on the Redskins came out firing. I guess, I didn't know what to expect with him. He looked kind of like a petulant child on his draft night because he believed he should have been the first quarterback taken off the board. He was not. I believe he was the 3rd or 4th quarterback that was taken. And, so he's all kind of going out there to prove himself. Unfortunately, he's on a shitty-ass team like the Redskins. So they are going to be absolute garbage this year. They played against the second string of the Browns. Looked all right. Haskins was throwing against a B squad, but it's good. So I think the Redskins are going to be, they're going to be a dumpster fire again. The Giants don't know who their quarterback is, whether it's Daniel Jones, who they clearly drafted too high, or it's going to be Eli Manning for one more, swan song season. We'll see. But I think the only real competition you have is going to be the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, I hope, burn and die in this game, in the season, multiple times. Ezekiel Elliott still doesn't have a contract. I would run around and just scream in pure joy if the Cowboys decide to go out and get a Melvin Gordon, who's disgruntled in San Diego, and bring him in as a safety insurance policy for Ezekiel Elliott and let him hold out the whole season. I think that's great. Dak would get murdered. He's not going to do well. I think Carson Wentz is just going to outshine Dak on the field every time. And I'm going to be really excited to listen to the fake Cowboy fans who unfortunately reside in Canada as well. I can't wait to hear them just cry and bemoan everything that they've seen on their team because, as we all know, Cowboys fans are the fakest people in the world. I said it here. If this show actually gets big and we have people emailing me, I will take on all you fucking Cowboy fans who want to send emails to me. Do it. You have nothing better with your life. You clearly picked a team just because your parents somehow liked them when they were winning in the 80s. You haven't won. You won the first playoff game in years last year. Look at who has the most recent Super Bowl of the NFC East. That's the Eagles. I think they're going to come back this season, and I think they're going to kick ass. And so I'm excited for it. I see them winning the NFC East. I see the playoffs. It's going to go through the Chiefs in the AFC and the Patriots. They're going to be, again, I think, in a showdown. I think that's going to be a really good matchup in the AFC, and the NFC should be... I think the 49ers are the dark horse. I'd like to see what they do. I think Garoppolo has a chance to kind of come back and redeem himself after his injury last year. But I think the NFC is going to be wide open for really anyone to take it. I think we're at Eagles, 49ers, Seahawks, they get their act together. I think it should be a good year. Bears should be good too. So we'll see. I think Eagles can make it to the NFC Championship. And if they can get past that, it's really going to see whether or not they have enough firepower for a team like the Chiefs or the Patriots. But yeah, exciting. I think we're so close. Oh God, I'm so excited for the NFC season. I have 3 fantasy football leagues lined up, drafts coming soon. Oh man, and this show, if we keep doing a show where you will be doing live reactions during the Eagles games, like that will be happening. So get ready for that. So a lot to come with football upon us, and definitely going to be a focal point as we go on with the show. And on that note, so I can stop, just continue to talk about the Eagles, that is going to be the end of our show. We're out of time. I just want to thank all of you for listening in. You can hit me up on Instagram at TeamBaldwin92 or on Twitter at TeamBaldwin92 on Twitter as well. We'll be hopefully having an account soon for the show, and it'll be the ChadBurn Podcast. So I'll keep you all updated, and we will have the next 3 topics for the following show out a few days before we record. So look forward to getting out there. Thank you again for joining the show, and have a wonderful evening. Good night, guys.